The capital cities of virtually every Western European country are paralyzed today, viewer, because farmers in all of these countries have gotten into their tractors and in their hundreds gone to the center of town. The main images coming in today are from Paris, from Rome, and from Brussels, the capital of the European Union, where the European Union Parliament is, where the European Union summit will be taking place tomorrow. Very, very dramatic images. Thousands of tractors are on the streets, at least 1,000 tractors, according to a local estimate in Brussels, are on the streets. They've gherowed the entire EU Parliament a day before the EU summit because angry farmers have decided to lodge and register their protest over the huge pressures of compliance owing to regulations on climate change, the price of their produce nosediving, not being able to get the correct price for what they've been growing, food inflation pressures, and other government regulations that they say are inimical to farmer welfare. So farmers have all united in all of these European capitals. The big image, of course, today, including fire, arson, vandalism, stone pelting, and 1,000 tractors in the road are coming in from Brussels, just one day before the big EU summit that will be held at the EU Parliament, which is situated in Brussels. Now, when we mention farmer protests, you of course remember the farmer protests that took place here in India just a few years ago. Farmers versus the European Union has intensified. In Brussels, the farmers have lit fires outside the European Parliament building as a part of the ongoing protests over excessive costs, rules, and bureaucracy. But few have forgotten the protests that took place in India over progressive reforms that were being imposed on farmers. Finally, the government had to embarrassingly roll back the first progressive agricultural reforms in decades. But let's focus today not on India, but on Europe. The European Union, viewer, had lectured India. Many of these countries had given India condescending gyan a few years ago when the Punjab farmers had collected around the Ghazipur border and the Singhu border near Delhi to put pressure on the government. They had lectured India about farmer welfare. And today, that very same crisis is at their doors, except that it is not progressive policy, it is not progressive rules and regulations, but a whole gamut of other decisions being taken by the European Union that have come now to bite them back. The farmers are blocking traffic across Belgium, France, and Italy this Wednesday and Thursday, as they're seeking to disrupt trade at major ports and other economic lifelines. Not just that, they were seen spraying milk on buildings or filling streets with cattle. 1,000 tractors are on the roads. Dutch farmers from the Netherlands are dumping manure on the streets and protesting outside politicians' houses. They've gotten into their tractors. They're lining up on highways and making it between state borders to register their protest in the most high-profile capitals. The agitation saw its beginnings last year in France when farmers started blocking roads across the country. France is Europe's largest agrarian producer. The farmers have been demanding government action to address numerous grievances, including not being paid enough, being choked by excessive regulation on environmental protection, and a huge litany of bureaucratic red tape that has stopped farmers from being able to expand and better their livelihoods. So let's just explain and clarify once again, because these visuals, viewer, I know are extremely compelling, and I want to continue to show you the most compelling pictures, the moving pictures of those tractors. I'm going to ask our producer to play the most dramatic images only so we can depict what really is happening outside the European Parliament, including the fire, the stone pelting, and those images of the tractors moving down the highway in large numbers. I want our viewers to see only those most compelling visuals, not the other static images. Now, why are European farmers protesting? Let me just summarize for you what the deal here is. Farmers claim in Europe that they aren't being paid enough, which is an amazing irony, given how the European Union and many of these countries had condescendingly lectured India about farmer welfare just a couple of years ago during the protests here. The farmers in Europe claim they're being choked by excessive environment regulations, competition from cheaper exports from other countries, high costs for energy, fertilizer and transport, the plan to phase out tax breaks on diesel and fuel. All of these have resulted in historic anger among European farmers, and that's the reason why they've united in their tractors in their thousands and decided to put a chokehold on Europe's biggest lifelines. They completely surrounded the European Parliament as well, which we'll be showing you in just a moment. Now, Europe's farmer uprising is happening in the following countries, viewer. We've shown you what's happening in Belgium, but it actually started in France, which is Europe's biggest agrarian producer by far. France, Germany, Belgium, Netherlands, Spain, Portugal, Romania, and Hungary. So largely confined to Western and Central Europe, but also a couple of countries in Eastern Europe, including Romania and Hungary, are also involved in this farmer action. So it's a united uprising by farmers looking to influence policy and put pressure on policy makers in order to roll back some of those rules and regulations. They say they are being choked. I want to bring in India Today's Nabila Jamal for more on this story.